Hello everyone. Yeah, welcome to the 40th Lucknow Meetup group. In this meetup, like we were discussing regarding the tracing module and MDC logging in MuleSoft. We will try to cover this briefly and with practical example. Some safe harbor statement, like both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only. We are not representing our companies here. This presentation is strictly for learning purposes. Organizer do not hold any responsibility that the same solution will work for your business requirement. This presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. Okay, so these were some of the safe harbor statement. Let me move next. Housekeeping. The recording for this meetup will be uploaded to the events page within 24 hours. If you have any questions, that can be submitted and asked at any time in the chat questions and answers tab. Yeah, and I think you all also have the access to mute and mute yourself, so you can even ask in the middle. Don't wait for writing in the chat. Next, like give us feedback. Like once this meetup is completed, like you can rate this meetup session by filling the feedback form at the end of the day. So yeah, we love the feedbacks and it's bread and butter for meetup. Yeah, now coming to the organizers. Yeah, so I think Akub, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, good Simran. Hi everyone, this is Akib. So, I'm working with TCS right now as assistant consultant, and I have overall 10 years of experience with more than 5 years in MuleSoft. Yeah, that's it. Next to you, Abhishek.
Okay, thank you, Jakub. So, hello everyone. Hi, this is Abhishek. I'm a MuleSoft ambassador, regional leader for Meetup India, and organize Meetup for Lucknow and Guwahati. I'm a principal developer at Neuraflash. Just completed my 1 year with Neuraflash yesterday, and I'm a regular, or I'm a frequent speaker in Salesforce, MuleSoft, and Slack. And that's pretty much about me. Over to you, Sham, if you can speak. Else,
Yeah, Abhishek, I can manage. So, yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this mini meetup. I'm Sham Kulkarni, working as a MuleSoft developer at Neuraflash. I have almost 3.5 plus years of experience, totally in MuleSoft and as well Salesforce as well. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Akub, Abhishek, and Sham for introducing yourself. Now coming about me. So as I mentioned, like I am a meetup speaker. I am a certified developer. I have around total 4 years of experience. Apart from that, I have done a couple of other certifications in Solis, Workato, and I have done like AIML degree from IT Delhi. Okay, so let's move to the agenda for today. Now, the agenda for today is regarding the MDC logging. So, what is at least MDC logging? Why we need that? What is tracing module? Uh, what's the use case of tracing module? And we will show everything with the demo. Okay, so now let's try to cover some of the fewer slides. Logging and tracing. So, can anyone tell, like, I believe all of you who have joined here, like, they are from MuleSoft background, but correct me if I am wrong. So, why do we need logging in the first place? Like, what's the use case of logging, especially in MuleSoft?
feel free to unmute and speak about it, guys. Let's make it more interactive. It is for learning, so it's fine if it is wrong. Just have some learning.
To do some audit when we have something happens wrong. I mean, when error occurs, to debug the things.
Okay, great. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Uh,
like to track the events, like what is happening in our application in the flows.
yeah, great. Like logging MuleSoft, like as two of the colleagues here mentioned, like they are used for error catching and tracing purpose. So that's the same use case. So let's take an example, like we have two end systems and we have MuleSoft as a middleware. So while like we are like interacting with the systems, and in our layer, MuleSoft middleware layer, like we encounter any issue. So we can like immediately trace that through logging mechanism. So whenever an error occurs, we can trace that through debugging. So supportability. So let's take an example, like an application is deployed and it's working successfully. So we have to monitor the same application for an extended period of time. For example, let's say for hypercare. So in order to support that integration, we will need the logging mechanism. So by checking the logs, by getting the correlation ID, we will be able to backtrace all the events which is happening. Now coming to system visibility and system traceability. So as I mentioned, like we could have a number of systems connected to our middleware. So let's take an example, like we have Salesforce, we have SAP, we have uh, NetSuite. Yeah, so like if there's any issue occurs in any of the whole architecture, so first point of contact should be the middleware layer. So we will first check the logs in the middleware layer, because it's like integrating all the systems together. So we can, by checking the events and by getting any transaction ID, like we will be able to backtrace all the loggings uh, from the first point to the last point of the systems. So in that way, like it like showcase the system visibility and system traceability. So it's very useful in those cases. Now coming to log4j2.xml. Okay, so basically in MuleSoft application, like logging is it's used by log4j2.xml, like any logging strategy which we have to define, like it can be configured in log4j2.xml. So it's the file where all the information related to the logging is present. So we can configure it according to our needs. So where it's present, like it's present in SRC main resources. Now coming to a brief architecture of log4j2.xml. So log4j2.xml, as I mentioned, like it's presents all the information which you need to do in logging. So it has like couple of components, like appenders, uh, logger, and rolling file strategy. So these are some terms like which we can configure to make our logs better. Okay, so appenders like they describe like how to deliver the logging event to a destination. So basically, like we can use the appenders to configure like how we want to deliver the logging events. So like whenever we log our events, so we can see the output in a form like console view and the log file of the application itself. Both of these are example of appenders. So it's like defined in the we have to define that in a particular format. So that I will discuss in the while I cover after I cover these slides. So briefly, I will just cover these slides and we'll go through the demo. So rolling file, like it will ensure that all the log events are routed to a specific file, but there are alternate options, like we can also write to a relational database or any Kafka or SMTP. So it's also defined in under the same tag for the rolling file. So yeah, we'll discuss this also. File name. So file name inside the rolling file, it will discuss the like it will showcase the location and the name of the log file to create and add to the default location of the log file. Pattern layout. So coming to this pattern layout, now pattern layout is like it dictates like what is the format and presentation of the rolling log file. So we can like we can define like how we want to present that logs in what format. So it has some set of predefined events like percentage %p, percentage %d, percentage %t, which we can configure according to our needs. Okay, so as I mentioned, like this is an example of a pattern. So percentage %p, it mentions the priority level of the logging event. Percentage %d, it mentions the default format for the date and time. Percentage %t, it represents the thread name that generates the logging event. For the percentage %c, percentage %m, percentage %n, like I will discuss later in the coming slides. Okay, so loggers, as I mentioned, like they are used to log like we can use specific packages, and we can like log in different ways. Like we have a number of ways of logging, like we can log as info, trace, debug, Yeah, so MuleSoft provides that capabilities. Okay, so let me quickly cover two. So this is an example of log4j.xml. Okay, so if I try to copy this in a notepad plus maybe. Yeah, so whenever we create an application in our studio, so for example, like I have created this tracing module, like we have this test application also. So let's take an example of creating a new application. Okay, so here created this test project. So whenever we create an application in Mule, like there is a file which is created by default in Asasi main resources. It's called log4j.2.xml. So it will have like some predefined values which we can edit according to our needs. Yeah, so let's try to copy this pattern layout pattern which I was mentioning. Okay, so we have this one even. Yeah. So as I was mentioning, like I have written the terms here only. So in this pattern layout, like whenever you see any logs, for example, I have copied this particular log from my console. So percentage P in this pattern layout, it will mention the priority level of the logging event. So you are seeing this priority level, it's info. Yeah, you can change this. Percentage D, it defines the like it represents the default format of date and time. So it represents in this particular format. Yeah, which is the default format. Now percentage T, that thread name that generates the logging event. So we have this thread like but so percentage X, the thread that generates the logging event and identifier of the message that was processed, collision ID. So we have this collision ID, and then we have the percentage C, the name of the logger that published the logging event. The application supplied message associated with the logging event. If you have any message like that, we printed inside here, and we have this line separator. Okay, so this is the like default format in which the logs are printed in the studio. Okay, now let me go to the slide again. Okay, so coalition ID. So coalition ID, like it's basically a transit ID, which is a unique identifier value that is attached to the request and response. So basically, the coalition pattern, like it depends on the use of coalition ID. So well, it's not only limited to MuleSoft, like it's uh, like yeah, this ID like we can use in other technologies also. So like if it's not the name coalition ID, like it's a unique identifier, maybe some different name transaction ID. Yeah. So in any integration tool, like we would have some unique ID through which we can trace. So coalition ID, as I mentioned, like is defined as a non-standard HTTP header and is part of the JMS service. Okay, so can anyone tell like how does a coalition ID generates, and in any way like can we modify according to our needs? Anyone wanted to share their insights on that? Okay, am I audible? Yeah, Abhishek. Okay. Okay, so like whenever a mule creates a new event, it generates a UID before sending the event to the next processor. So basically, this will enable like to trace the whole event. If the source does not set a correlation ID, the mule generates one using the correlation ID generator. Okay, changing correlation ID. Yeah, I will discuss this. I will discuss this in a demo. Changing correlation ID during flow execution. Tracing module. Yeah, so tracing module, has anyone got a chance to previously work on tracing module? Anyone knows what is tracing module? Anyone? like what's the use of tracing module? Like why do we use why MuleSoft like used create a new connector tracing module?
I did a POC previously,
Okay, great. So what you did
and
here?
you can modify the correlation ID by making use of this particular module. That is one thing I remember. Also, you can modify the structure that you have shown, right, for the
Mhm.
logger. You
Yeah.
can add the unique references to that, um, so that we can identify the transactions uniquely.
It
Okay.
calculates the step-by-step flow execution of flow, including like inbound and outbound transformations, events. It can process it done by components, this kind of things.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, excellent answer. So yeah, thank you both of you. May I know your name?
Myself, Shravan.
Shravan. Okay. Okay, great. So tracing module, like basically it's used to improve the logs in the Mule application. Let me move to the slideshow again. So normally like by default, like we have this log4j2.xml. Yeah. But if you want to do any modification on top of that and we want to improve the logging according to our needs, so we can do that using a tracing module. So it provides the MDC logging, which stands for Map Diagnostic Context. So it's not a term which is only limited to MuleSoft, because Log4j2, like uh, it's also a JMS. Java is based on Java, so we can modify it according to our needs. So as I mentioned previously, like it's not only in MuleSoft, so it's a Java term. So we can like because MuleSoft is using this log4j.xml, which is from the Apache, which is internally using Java. So we can modify it according to our needs. So it will update the logs with more information by changing the correlation ID. So what all we can do? We can change the correlation ID. We can add, remove, and clear the variables from test for a given null core event. Yeah. So I will discuss this in the demo. So how to change, what to do for installing this tracing module, and how we can do this MDC logging in MuleSoft. So yeah, I will discuss this in the demo. Tracing module operations. Yeah. So let me try to cover this with the demo, and we'll come back to this slide again. Let me try to close other widgets. Okay, so I have created a flow here for this meetup. So in this flow, like I will demonstrate like what's the use case of tracing module, and will show all its operations. So the tracing module, like normally, like if you don't have a mule palette, you can, like as you all know, you can search in Exchange and add that module, or you can add the dependency in bound.xml. And once you have it added to your project, like if you try, like there are set number of 4 operations which you can use. So first we have with correlation ID. Then these three: set logging variable, remove logging variable, clear logging variables. These are used to like if you want to reduce some variables in our logging with the correlation ID. So we can do that like using these modules connectors. Okay, so now let's try to cover this demo and we'll go over each operation one by one. So what exactly I'm trying to do here in my current flow. Okay, so normally like whenever like an event will be generated by this listener, a random cohesion ID will be generated. So it will be a unique identifier which will be valid for the whole execution, like once this flow will end. Okay, so I'm getting this correlation ID, then I'm using this with correlation ID here. So after using this with correlation ID, I'm setting some logging variables. So I'm setting a couple of logging variables one by one. And after that, I am removing one of the variable. And after that, I'm using this clear logging variable operation. So this will show like all the operations which are present here. So let me start with the demo here. So I have this Postman collection here. So here I'm using this localhost 801 tracing module for this listener. And here in the body, I am passing in the payload, I am passing some order ID customer ID. Okay, so right now, like we will be executing this project. Okay, so let me try to hit this. I have kept the breakpoint. Yeah, everything seems to be good. Okay, so you can see here like one collision ID is generated. Let me move to the again. Okay, let me move to the console. Yeah. Yeah. So can anyone tell like in like what's the way of changing collision ID like without using the tracing module? Does anyone has worked on that? Like if we don't want to use the tracing module, and before starting on the event itself, we want to use our own collision ID. So like how we can do that? Okay, so here like we have this particular header exploration ID. So here I am setting this particular collision ID Gursiman1234 for this particular POC. So if I don't take this particular header, like the mule will generate a random collision ID which you can use. So as of now, like I've started the execution, so I will continue with this particular collision ID Gursiman1234. Okay, let me try to move next. So here I'm using this with collision ID scope. So here I am again changing the collision ID inside this to 123. So till the end of this scope, like to the like flow 18 encounters, like it will be 123 only, the value which we have set in the this section. So using this, like we can for a particular set of operations, we can set the correlation ID. So for tracing and debugging purposes, for example, like in for each, it's useful. So we have to like block this particular like in each of the iteration inside a for each or inside any other connector, so we can use that. So here like as you can see in console currently it's 1234. Now if I try to move next, let me go next again. Okay, now let me try to maximize this console and show you. So here initially it was 1234. Then again, when I went inside this with collision ID, because I've changed this to 123. So again, you can see the collision ID is changed to 123. Okay, so for three set of operations, collision ID 123, 123. Okay, so for this set of operation, it was 123. Then again, it came to this logger. Now let me try to move next. Set logging variable. Okay, so here in using this set logging variable, like what we can do, like we can log any of the variable with the collision ID. So like in a case like we want to have a variable like for the entire execution of the flow. Like for example, we have various systems, and in the middle like we want one variable which want to be reflected in each of the system with the logs. So we can use that set logging variable for this. So we can like print any of the variable with the collision ID for this. So here I am getting payload or order ID. So order ID here I have set as 123 only. Okay, so it will with the collision ID it will print 123. Now again let me stop at one point. Again I'm setting this variable at payload.customer ID. Yeah, so again it will print 123600. Okay, so it will print collision ID, then this order ID, then this customer ID. Now let me move next and till the point like it got set. Now let me maximize again. So you are seeing is initially it was Gursimran 1234, and when I use this collision ID with the collision ID, so till that scope it became 123. Then again the scope has ended like with the collision ID, so it was only for these three connector operations. Then again it got changed to 1234. Now again with this set logging variable, I've set this order var 123, so it get printed with the logs itself. So Gursiman 123 and order where 123. Okay, so let me move one point next. So you can see here customer where 600. So it's printing the question ID, order where, customer where, because we have set both of them here. Now coming to this remove logger operations. So if you want to remove any, let's take an example like while like this logging is happening in the different layer, like we have different APIs, experience layer, system layer, process layer. So till the point of process layer, like we are get, like we are getting this logs. Yeah, we are printing the variables. But like for example, like you are exposing your API to any end user, like a mobile app, yeah, or any website, and then again you don't want to show these variables in the logs. Yeah, so you just want internally, like in the middleware only, you want to show this variables. So till that point, you can set this logging variable, and again in their experience here, you can logging variable and remove that particular variable which you don't want to show, obviously for security purposes. So again, I have in the logger remove logging variable, I have used this customer where. So now I will be removing this customer ID 600 from here. Okay, so this, because this I have set here. So let me move next again. One point next again. Okay, so now let's try to see this. So as I remove the customer where, here you are seeing this only order where and the original position ID is present. So the customer where is customer variable is removed. Now let's take an example like we don't want to remove specific variables. Yeah, so we want to remove all the variables which is being logged in the payload. Yeah, so there's no like because it will like have the logs to be greater in size, and we don't want so much logging. Yeah, so instead of removing each variable one by one, we can use this clear logging variable. So basically what it will do, like it will clear all the variables which are being shown in the logging. So in the logs, like in the console or in the router, anywhere, like if you want to remove all the variables which you have set, so you will use this clear logging variable. Now let me try to move next again, and now let me try to maximize this again. Okay, so here you can see with the clear logging variable, again this order that is removed, and we are just left with the collation ID. Okay, so now let me try to copy this last log again. Yeah, so you can see this is matching this one. Okay, so this was the use like which I wanted to show quickly, like what's the different connector operations. Now coming to the point again of the previous slide. Okay, so can anyone tell, like, to use this tracing module, like, do we need to do any changes, like, or we can normally just add this to the module and it will work? Like, probably like someone told like they have worked on this part in the past, so they can tell better. Okay. Anyone? Okay, I will try to cover this. So basically, to use this tracing module here, we need to do some changes first in the log4j2.xml. So these operations will work only if we modify this log4j2.xml according to introduce this MDC logging inside that. So if we'll like if you will see a normal log4j.xml, so it will like have some different values, but we have to change these values in the file pattern and some other places to make this work. So now let's see what all we have to change. Whenever log4j.xml is created, like we would have this a pattern layout pattern which I shown here. Yeah. So normally it will be present with some default values which is other than percentage MDC. So it's the by default provided by MuleSoft. Like it will show like the way it shows in any of the logging mechanism Cloud Hub or in console. Yeah, but to use this MDC logging, instead of after percentage T and before percentage C, we have to use this percentage MDC and remove everything there. Yeah, so I will just show in the log4j again. Now, again, to see this MDC logging and like the detailed logging in our console. So maybe you can add this if you want to see this in your console logs. So you need to add this reference to the async root tag. So you have this async root tag inside your log4j2.xml. So you need to add this appended reference equal to console. If you will not add this, like these detailed logs will not show in the uh, console, like in the studio console. Okay, so this was the changes which were required. So now let me show you how these changes are reflecting here. So this is one place where we will change. Yeah, pattern layout. Yeah, so zoning file, like as I mentioned, like it will show like how we log this application. Now, coming to this async logger tag again. So inside the logger section, you will have this async root level tag. So inside this, you have to add this appender f console. Now let me try to see one of the other log4j2.xml. Okay, so you are seeing this. This is log4j2.xml of another project which is not using MDC logging. So here you can see, like here we are having some predefined set value, processor path, event correlation ID. So it's the normal which is getting brain. But instead of this everything, we have to just keep percentage MDC. So that's it. Yeah, if you try to compare these two, it's percentage MDC. And to see that in console, you have to add this appender tag. Okay, so by just doing this minimal change in this your log4j.xml, you will be able to see the detailed logs in your studio. Okay, let me close this project.
Hi, Gursinder. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
For the default log4j and for the what are the customization you have done for this tracing module? Only two tags we need to modify, right?
correct. So we need to modify. Yeah, let me cover this again. So we need to change this pattern layout, and
Okay.
just this pattern layout is required. Yeah, but normally, like if you change this pattern layout, it will not. The changes will not show in the console. Yeah, in the Studio Logs console. So you have to add this console reference in the appender tag also in the async root tag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and one more thing is we have set logging. For example, if we need to add multiple variables, we need to create a multiple set variables, or we can
Let
use.
Yeah, actually, yeah, good question. Yeah, I have like when I worked, I have tried with one variable as of now, but yeah, I think we can also like use some dynamic value for this. We can use that dynamic value.
Okay.
Like
I mean, this is a similar concept like set variable and remove variable kind of thing.
correct. Yeah, but removing the variable like if you want to like clear all the logging variables for like let's say an example like you the variables which are be defined. Yeah, you like if you want to don't want to give the each of the names one by one or
Mm.
they don't have any common thing in them. Yeah, the name of the variables are different. So
Okay.
yeah, you can use one single clear logging variables, you know, for that. Yeah, it will remove all the variables in that. You don't have to like make a pattern between the variables and see like how we can remove all the variables. Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah.
Okay, and on a final question, like when you are deploying this application in Cloud Hub, so there is no need to change anything in Log4j. The same configuration will work, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so this basically covered a brief demo of this tracing module, like what is the use case and like why we use that. Okay, so right now we covered with this particular header X correlation ID. Yeah, so can anyone tell like if we will not take this, like what will happen? Like here I am using this correlation 1, 2, 3, 4. If I will not use this particular header, like how will the correlation ID be generated?
It would be a random 12 digit number.
Yeah. Abhishek, it's correct me if I'm wrong, it's 12 digit or 16 digit. I think it's
16, I guess.
16, yeah, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, correct. So yeah, here like so there are two ways. So two things here. So if you want to change our collision ID before even the event is generated. So let's take an example like we want like there are n number of systems and we have this a middleware layer. Yeah. So we would keep this our collision ID in the middleware layer as MuleSoft. Yeah. So for this whole all the APIs, like it will keep this collision ID as MuleSoft only with the collision ID as MuleSoft. So using this particular MuleSoft, like we can backtrace all the particular events. So this will happen like we have predefined its name before the starting of the event itself. Then what's the use of this one with collision ID? What's the difference between that as collision ID and with collision ID? Can anyone tell this? Here also we are changing the collision ID, correct?
If we are, I'm not sure, but if you are particularly trying to find any particular stream of line or a type of a Splunk log, right? So that time we would use the correlation ID which we would have given.
Mm-hmm. No, I did not understood exactly what you're saying. Can you come again?
We would pass the different correlation ID in order to make it easier to track by using that correlation ID
Okay,
which we passed.
correct. So that we can do through this exclusion ID header also, correct? Like there are two, like we have this one scope with collision ID and we have this particular header also exclusion ID. So yeah, I mean to ask like in which case we will use what? Like when you use this headers for giving collision ID and when we will use this particular with collision ID. Okay, so yeah, maybe I will just wait for 5 to 10 seconds. If not, then I will try to answer this.
This correlation ID will work for only the three components which you have specified.
Yeah, but we can extend it. Like we can use this through our entire flow also. Yeah, like we can just keep this with collision ID and keep this account in the whole flow execution. Yeah, till the end of the flow. We can do that also. In that case. Yeah. Okay. Correct. Okay, so basically, like they are more or less the same. Like basically, this is a header. Like this is not only pertaining to MuleSoft. This is also used in other services. This particular header to change this collision ID. So basically, even before the starting of the event, like when the event is not triggered, like we can set this. And once the event is triggered, like it will use this particular collision ID for the whole flow. Yeah, but this particular module, like we are using with tracing module through tracing module with collision ID. So here also we are setting this 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's say an example, we are setting this some random value as 1, 2, 3. So here also we are changing the collision ID, but here like we are changing the collision ID after an event is in the middle of the event. Yeah, when the event is in transit. So while it's processing anything, it's changing in that way. It's not changing in at the start itself. Like if you want to change, like while in the event itself, like in the first execution, like we will use through that escalation ID. But during the flow execution, if you want to change in the middle of the flow execution, if you have a need, like for example, you have to trace any particular system, like any n number of systems, and you have to trace any like particular operation for a given set. Yeah, so in that case, like in the middle of the flow execution, you can change that with correlation ID using this scope. So you can just wrap this component to that definite set of operations, and that correlation ID for that particular set of operation will be changed. So yeah, so the thing is, like as I mentioned, like if you want to change in the middle of the flow execution, you can use this with correlation ID. If you want to have this like across the whole your integration architecture which you have defined at the starting of the event, you can use this S correlation ID header. Okay, so that was the point, like I was trying to explain. Now coming to, we have covered this log4j2 tracing module operations demo. Okay, so does anyone knows like what's are the logging best mechanism? Like anyone wants to share? And what's the log like? What's the default log way like which MuleSoft provides?
It's asynchronous logging.
Correct. Good. So basically, any reason for using asynchronous logging instead of synchronous logging?
Performance will be improved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, that's one of the reasons.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, like what happens in the async logging, like it will like the logging operation will happen in a separate thread from the message processing, and so the like when it will happen in a separate thread, so later can continue without having to wait for the log operation to complete. So, it's like it will not affect the flow execution in that way. So like best practice used to use asynchronous logging over synchronous. So with a minimum logging level of 1 for production application. So if you are using any of the loggers, which is by default provided by MuleSoft, I'm not talking about this JSON logger. JSON logger also we can use. Yeah, we have some levels. Yeah, so debug error info warn trace. So if you want to like have catch any like issue or anything, we can use debug logging. Otherwise, like it's but like under the MuleSoft guidelines is described to use this asynchronous logging with a minimum logging level of 1 for prod applications. Like we can use info logging level when we want to confirm events such as successful policy installation or to perform any troubleshooting. We can use uh, info logging also. So in case like we are using this logger here, so in that case, like I see like in a couple of like in one of my last engagement, one of the guy had logged this entire flow again in an async block. He has used async scope again and logged this everything in an async scope. So that's also not a good practice. So basically, as I mentioned, like we should avoid using the async scope to log the messages. So by default, it's async only. So because the logging mechanism is already implemented asynchronously by the log4j library in the backend. So again, enclosing this within a scope will not improve like parallelism. It will increase the resource usage and like it will cause low performance and back pressure. Yeah, so that's one thing here. Uh, yeah, so now coming again to this MDC logging part. Yeah, so by default, like Mule logs two MDC entries, like the processor, which shows the location of the current event, and the event, which shows the collision ID of the event. So we have this processor, yeah, we have this collision ID, and we have this processor section, processor path, and this. Yeah, so by default, like Mule will log these two details only, collision ID and the processor thing. But while we are using this MDC logging, like we can set this any of the variable also here. So as I if I copy one of this logs here, let's try to copy this one here, and again let me try to paste here. So you are seeing here, like with the question ID, we have logging some of the two variables also. Yeah, besides the processor details and the collation ID, which is present by default. So yeah, that was the point which I wanted to cover, and I think we are pretty good with the demo, and I hope like this was useful to understand like how we use this tracing module and what's the use case for this. Anyone has anything to share, any questions? Yeah, that would be really appreciated.